7. It's already been a wild first 6 weeks. Week 7 will have some fun ones going on. Dallas and Chicago are both on buys, so they get a nice little reprieve. But a quick look back at week 6, our picks from last week, we both went 10-4. I could not get the Jets to make a field goal to save their life to try to help me gain some ground on Michael, so he went 10-4 against Buffalo, and I had chosen the Jets. So he's now sitting at 61-27, and I am 53-39. So, yep, no ground gained this week. But on to week 7, and Thursday night we get a real dinger between the Denver Broncos going to the New Orleans Saints. Sean Payton's homecoming of sorts. This should be a good chance for the Broncos to get right a little bit. I kind of liked a little bit that I saw from Spencer Rattler when he played, but I mean, he played well basically for one quarter. A lot of people have argued coming out the half, which was a weird quarter to play well. You'd think he'd play well in like the first when it was scripted or something like that, but no, it was like the third quarter, and he's like, I'm gonna pop off now. So we'll see if he can keep that up. Again, I liked a bit of what I saw, but Denver has a really good defense, and I'm expecting them to get after him quite a bit. If he's foolish enough to go after Patrick Surtain, he's going to get exactly what he deserves. So I'll take Denver here, and it'll heal a little bit of the woes of Denver from last week. So what do you got in this one?
I really was expecting to get a split here with you on this one. Similarly, I was going to take Denver in this game. I actually think Bo Nix is progressing. I think he's getting better week to week. I'm kind of excited a little bit about what they're doing there, but I do think they need a better general game plan for him week to week. I kind of feel like they're putting him in some awkward situations, almost this minimalist offense, which seems strange for Sean Payton to me, but whatever. Their defense looks great, so I expect them to give a rookie quarterback a hard time, or a young quarterback. With Rattler, it was cool to see Rattler. It was good to see good portions of his play and all that. But, New Orleans' complete collapse was something spectacular to watch in that game. So I'll be interested to see how they recover from that. And I think Sean Payton's been planning this one for quite some time. So I'll take Denver in this game as well. And we won't get any split at all. We'll just stay on the same page. Heading to Sunday, we've got New England at Jacksonville. Another exciting reason to get up early. I think New England, again, this one was a tough one. I honestly went back and forth on this one. I think New England has played a little bit better at times. There's some positives, obviously. I think a lot of people are excited to see Drake May out there. But I just think it's too early in the season to tell much of anything about him. How will he respond to things? So with that, I still think that Jacksonville is going to play the better game. I'd be interested to see what and I think going into that game, if I were Jacksonville, I would try to just take the run game away from New England. Not that they have a huge run game to speak of, but to make them unilateral and try to make a young quarterback, put all the pressure on him and see how he does. But I expect Jacksonville to walk away from it with that rather awkward game there. What do you think? Where are you going on that
one? Excuse me. I agree with a lot of what you said. I probably land a lot. I'm saying this one's a coin toss for me. The books are favoring Jacksonville here. I'm going to take a wild card and take the Patriots here. I'm looking back at last week, and Drake put up some points against Houston, who has maybe I think the best defense in the NFL right now. So if he can do that against them, maybe he can put some points up against Jacksonville as well. Jacksonville's been a little bit shaky on offense, and they'll have weeks where they're amazing, and then they'll have weeks where they're just not doing anything. And so we'll see. I'll take New England here just for the sake of variety. But I will not be surprised at all if Jacksonville pulls it off and then some. we'll see. Maybe he has a game 2 slump, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Moving into the 1 o'clock window, we've got a bird bowl, Seahawks at Falcons. This should be the Falcons game. The Seahawks are reeling from quite a few injuries on both sides of the trenches, and the Falcons have started to come into form. I would be lying if I said I wasn't rooting for the Falcons against the Seahawks, but the Bluebirds. But yeah, I really do think they're the better team right now, and they're just equipped for this. I think Gino and company will put up a fight because I hate that team. He is a fighter. I mean, he's going to swing it. He's got the weapons for it. I just think that they're going to be able to march like 20-20 pretty well, but they're not going to be able to get in the end zone as often as they will need to against the Falcons team, who, among other things, like it does not save you to be up by 10 in the fourth quarter with the Falcons because they can easily put up 20 in a quarter. So not easily, but it's not easy for anyone, but they can do it. So I'll take Atlanta here. I'm not expecting any Seahawks miracles, and I'm certainly hoping against one. So what do you see here?
Yeah, I think you actually just said it is, Seattle seems pretty committed to doing, being basically an all pass offense. Gino is pretty good at that. They've got the right wide receiver core. They're set up for that, but I think it does make them very heavily reliant on kind of the home run kind of approach and kind of the miracle ball over and over again. And I think that's a hard bet. I think Atlanta, especially in their last game where they showed kind of their two-pronged running game attack, if they can do that against Seattle, I don't think they have any chance at all. Where they can both control the clock, run up the score, and you need to respond, but there's no time. I think I think that'll be very interesting to see if they can repeat that. Their running attack look good. Maybe the second looked for a minute there like the second best running game in the league. So we'll see how that plays out week to week. I'll stick with Atlanta in that game as well. Looking on beyond that is the Tennessee Buffalo game. Tennessee lost a close one to the Colts. I mean, in short, as long as Levis is the quarterback, I don't think I'm going to be picking them. He just, again, I don't mean it to be mean to him, but he does seem to find ways to lose rather than find ways to win. The Colts looked really beatable in that game, and they just couldn't make it happen. Buffalo, what's not to like right now in Buffalo? Let's go ahead and make this game even more difficult with the acquisition of Amari Cooper. I mean, even if you look at it and say, well, he's going to need a minute to figure things out, he's still probably head and shoulders better than any wide receiver they have. And he's become an intriguingly kind of savvy veteran, which is fun to watch. So I'm honestly very excited for Buffalo. It'll be interesting to see how he fits into their offense and how, he relieves the pressure on Allen, if there is any. So we'll see how that plays out. But I expect Buffalo to take this one handily. How about you?
Same. That's one of the more intriguing things this week. But of course, the other AFC team, the Jets, how are they going to use Devontae? But for this one, how well is Amari going to fit in? And all that. So, yes, and again, similarly, I think the Bills win. This will be one of the less interesting games for the sake of the game. It'll just be like, oh, did they use Amari a lot? Fantasy owners will be curious, that kind of thing. One interesting note here, I do want to point out that I'm super impressed. As you look down the matchups, at least on the page I'm looking at through ESPN, it looks at the games we've already been at. The Patriots, Jags. Okay, Trevor Lawrence is the leading passer, 8 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and now the Seahawks, Geno Smith with 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Then it just goes to Josh Allen. Wait, the Bills, Josh Allen, 10 touchdowns. He has not thrown a pick yet. And compared to last year, where I think he might have led the league in picks with like 17 or something like that, it is just an amazing turn. I think I credit them developing and emphasizing the run game.
Yeah.
And that, he doesn't have to pass the ball 40 times a game. He doesn't become predictable in that manner, which means he can pass what he wants to and not just pass because he has to all the stinking time. So I hope he can keep that up for a while. And he's not going to go zero the whole season, but just keep it up. It's quite impressive. So I'll definitely take Buffalo here, and a pretty I don't want to say easy win because Tennessee does have some
Yeah.
some defense, but I will be looking to Tennessee next week to possibly be selling if they lose this game. Like 1-5 is you're pretty much done. So we'll see about that. But moving on, I've got the Ohio Bowl is the Bengals at the Browns. Not exactly a great game. The Browns are selling. The Bengals keep on losing, even though they look like a really good team. And at some point, they're going to have lost more than they can come back from. But they don't seem to be quite there yet. And if they can get to 3-4, then suddenly the season's back in front of them again. Joe Burrow looks like the MVP. Jamar Chase looks like the best wide receiver in the league, so on and so forth. And the Browns, well, they look like the Browns. So I'm going to pick Cincinnati here. I know it's a division matchup, but they are just lost. I heard Nick Chubb's going back maybe this week. So yay is another solution for your Cowboys if they lose this game.
That's a good idea.
Maybe he looks decent in this game. Like, hey, his legs still work, and then can go relieve them of that player who probably doesn't want to be there anymore. But who knows? And maybe the Browns pull this off somehow, but I just don't see it. Addition through subtraction doesn't usually work with the passing game. So, what do you see on this one?
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals, I thought, played a pretty unconvincing game against the Giants. 17-7 win. It's a win against a team they should win against, but it was not a great game. They have got to get an offensive line. Burrows takes a lot of hits, and they always seems to be pressure. I don't know on that one. I think that they've got to play a much better game coming up. I say that with all of that being said, Cleveland is atrocious. Deshaun Watson is a problem. And I think, again, like Levis, as long as he's quarterbacking, I don't think I can pick the Browns to do anything. I don't care who they're running back. I don't think I'd pick them with Derrick Henry. Myles Garrett is playing his heart out, I feel like, which is honestly pretty impressive to me to see. I know everybody's making money and they got to show, but it's a tough team, I think, to stay motivated on because where's the light at the end of the tunnel? He's fun to watch. He's fascinating. He's probably the reason people show up, I would imagine. They did have a close loss to Philly, but it's still pretty ugly football. I'll take Cincinnati all day to win there. I'm just kind of not sure how good of a game it'll be. I think Cincinnati needs to get some things figured out and hope that Myles Garrett doesn't get to the quarterback more than a few times. Looking beyond that is one of probably the best games of the week is the Houston Green Bay game. Man, I've gone back and forth on this one. I think this should be a really exciting one. Houston just looks really good. They ran over New England, which they should do. That's a good team. It was just a clean game. Stroud looks great. They've got a balanced attack. Like you've already pointed out, their defense is considerably better than I expected them to be and have kind of been that way pretty consistently. But on the other side of the ball, Jordan Love's been great. They've had some really good games that they've played. I'll be interested to see how they do with a more balanced offense that's working. I think that they're going to get challenged very heavily by Houston, even playing at home. I'm going to actually take Houston to win this one. I think they're the better team, and I expect them to put a lot of pressure on Jordan. And I expect the offense, if they're going to stay committed to balance and they're going to run that, I think they're going to pull out the win. But I expect this to be a phenomenal game. I'll be disappointed if it's a blowout.
Yeah, kind of the same. Um, we spoke during our Cardinals Packers recap about the Packers O line, and like it'll be interesting to see what happens if they go up, at some point against a really good defense with some real pass rush. Well, I give you Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson. I always think of Neo from The Matrix when I hear that name, and this will be a good test. On the other side of the ball, Jair Alexander has come back, and so that'll help the Packers defense. But as it happens, the Texans are the kind of team that don't just single out one guy. The Packers would be a bad matchup for probably Dallas right now because if they try to take away CeeDee Lamb, then what else do you guys really have? Tolbert shows up sometimes, and Jake Ferguson has moments, but CeeDee is the cornerstone of your offense. And so for the Texans, yeah, Nico Collins is killing it, but that's not all they have. So that will be really interesting. Similarly, I have Houston winning this one. I don't think it'll be some embarrassing, the Packers get exposed kind of thing. Nothing like that. Just I think that they are the slightly better team right now. So we'll see. I'll take Houston here as well. So we kind of bounce back and forth in the next couple between good game to not really good game. And then back to good game. So the next one is the not great game. We've got Dolphins at Colts. The Colts, the Dolphins are reeling. No Tua, no fun times. That is the short version of theirs. Their defense has performed relatively well at times, but everything else we don't really know because they don't have their quarterback, and that's just life, and that's rough. So what are you going to do? I have heard recently that they expect, or at least the coach expects Tua to come back and play at some point. So they can look forward to that if and when that happens. The Colts, the Colts have this weird issue behind this season. So this season they're 3-3 and they're playing fairly well on offense and defense, and yeah, they still got a shot at making the playoffs, and that's great. The problem behind all this is 39, 40-year-old Joe Flacco seems to be playing better than Anthony Richardson. I think I heard last week, Anthony Richardson's good to play on Friday. And then Sunday morning, they're like, yeah, he's not going to play. It's like, that's a really bad sign. No, they can cover that up with like, well, we want to make sure he's completely healthy. But fact of the matter is, he really wasn't playing all that well before he got hurt. And now Joe Flacco is playing like he was playing with Cleveland at the end of last year, minus the playoff game. And maybe eventually he has the playoff game where he just comes in and he's just bad. And they go back to AR. But I think they've got some weird things to work out. Again, I don't guess I said yet, but I'll take the Colts to win this game. It could be a nonsense bowl, but I'll take the Colts here. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that unfolds with the Colts quarterback situation. Now, what do you see on this one?
I mean, ultimately the same. I expect this is the Colts game to lose. They've played some really good games already in the season. They beat some tough opponents. They played a lot of actually tough opponents already and pulled out some wins in those games. And right now it feels like Flacco is doing that thing of just finding ways to win. Somebody was talking about his stats are pretty off the charts in terms of how well he's played over the last 10 years. And so, you kind of expect the law of averages to find its way into here somewhere where, not that he'll play badly, and I'm not hoping for that either, but that his game's going to come down. And then I think that means their defense is going to need to play a little bit better. I think that Miami, as you've already pointed out, has so little going for them. I think the biggest concern I have with Miami right now is that they've had a few weeks now to figure out some kind of functional game plan. And boy, if they had a pickle with their running backs being less than 100%, which should help alleviate stress on your quarterback. But I don't see any reason why this week they shouldn't just give the ball to whichever quarterback that they're giving it to, Huntley supposedly, and just saying, go crazy. They go crazy. Just give it your best shot, but play unafraid, unabashed. Just go do it. Even then, I think it would be a tough game. So I think Indy will take this one, but I'd like to see Miami put in some effort. in this game. So we'll see how that plays out. Next up is what would have been potentially also maybe the best game of the week. I still think this is going to be a great game. I actually think Detroit's defense is incredibly deep. With Hutchinson being out, I think that's obvious to note that will play an impact on this game. I disagree with a lot of people. I still think that Minnesota, in my opinion, is the best team in the NFL. The way that they have played is consistent and balanced. They just seem to be well-rounded on every aspect of the ball. They're creative. So I'll be interested to see if they, it's time for a real test. And this is the real test. This is the divisional rival you have to beat. I honestly cannot wait for this game. It's kind of sad that this is going to be on at the same time as the Green Bay Houston game. But that, division is so close with so many good teams. And I think it could get changed a lot in this week during those two games. With all that being said, I'm picking Minnesota to win. I think that they're going to come back healthy and really well prepared for Detroit. I think Detroit will reel just a little bit from the loss of Aiden. And hopefully he'll come back soon. But that's going to be my pick is Minnesota. We'll pull this one out. Where are you at?
Kind of same place. I think the Lions have like 9 sacks on the season or something like that, and 6.5 of them were 8. Something like I forget the exact numbers, but it's been a bit rough, and it changed with the Dallas game. So, he was a huge part of their defense. We'll see if the next man up thing and someone can step up. This is not a great week to experiment with that. So we'll see. The Vikings have a good O-line. So, this really isn't the greatest week to try to experiment with other pass rushers. You needed that one guy to take away a possession, just stop a drive or two. So I'll take Minnesota as well. I don't foresee this being something like, the Lions get embarrassed, that kind of thing. But I think it'll be enough. I think the things that they do well will counter the things that Detroit does fairly well. I saw they signed Cam Akers, so they got a little bit better at running back. I do like Cam Akers, actually. But it's still all about Justin Jefferson, and I don't think the Lions really have anyone who can get after him. I mean, Brian Branch can get involved there, but Justin has played against him before. And, so I'll take Minnesota here as well. Real quick, you took the Colts, right?
Yes.
Somehow I missed that a minute ago. But anyways, So for this one, I'll take the Vikings. It's nice with the whole Sunday ticket thing. Assuming both of them are available, you do that double boxing for both games on. Wonderful. And then again, we bounce back to another mediocre game. So we've got the Eagles and the Giants. The Eagles barely beat the Browns, and then the Giants put up 7 against Cincinnati, who had, they were perceived to have the worst defense in the NFL. The Giants have been kind of weird this season. The shift in the NFL to pocket quarterback, to all cover 2, various forms of this cover 2 kind of thing and all that. It has favored pocket quarterbacks, and Daniel Jones is actually playing not atrocious. He's not good. I don't want him, but it's not atrocious. So it's very interesting. I think they're still missing Malik Neighbors, so this should be Philly. Maybe they'll get right. I say it's weird that they need a get right game after winning, but they did not win particularly well against Cleveland. So if the Eagles can get right here, that would be good for them. It would probably mark the end of the Giants' season at 2-5. Also, that would make them 0-4 at home, which is also not something that you ever want to see. So I'll take the Eagles here. It's not exactly a brave pick or anything, but that's where I'm going to go. So what do you see on this one?
I think one of the things that was interesting to me is just how Philly – I really don't think Philly's playing good football right now. I think they're playing passable football. I know that they took a hit on their left tackle, Mailaka, who they're not sure is going to play. They've already got some other challenges, I think, on their offensive line. I really don't think their offensive line is as good as it has been in the past anyway. I think the Giants' defense is better than they often get credit for. So the question, and I think that we saw a bad Daniel Jones game a little bit this last week. I think if Neighbors, who is I think getting closer to coming back, although it sounds like he's certainly not definitive. I think for me, if Neighbors is playing, I would pick them without any hesitation in this next game. I'm still going to take New York, even without Neighbors, as like a gut kind of pick on this one. I really think Philly's been in a kind of declining level of play, even with the wins. Um, and I kind of get the feeling that the Giants are starting to figure a few things out. They need to stay committed to the run, even if it's not producing big. The rookie that they have kind of magicked out of uh, thin air, it was not productive in the last game, but has been very productive. And I would like to see them uh, really lean on him some more, Tyron Tracy Jr., and keep him in the game. He's doing a good job. He accounted for their 7 points. Um, I think that I think they could pull something out here. So I'm going to hope on some magic there for the Giants and go with that pick. Next up is maybe the game of the week. No, not this one. This is Las Vegas and the Rams. In a weird way, I think there's an opportunity for somebody here to have a get right kind of game, and I'm going to pick that for the Rams. I think they've been so injured this season, and not that any of those are particularly coming back, but that Vegas seems particularly vulnerable right now. They really just don't have much of anything working their way. Their offense is in shambles. I don't expect that to magically get better this week. I think that Matt Stafford will find a way to win this game, and that for me it'll be just kind of all on his shoulders. And that's an easy bet for me to take Matt Stafford in a game that otherwise is a not good team versus an injured team. I'll take him to be the difference maker. How about you?
Yeah, this one's it's tricky for me. So you're taking the Rams.
Yeah, take the Rams. Yep.
Uh, since they've moved on from Gardner Minshew, not that he was really saving them. I know that there's rumor of maybe imminent return of Cooper Kupp, which would obviously really help the Rams. Their defense is still bad. The Raiders. I have to be careful on stuff like this because some part of my brain wants the Rams to lose because they're a division rival and all that.
Totally.
I'm always like slightly lopsided and when I'm trying to project it out there. But this is the kind of game that would be the right kind of game for the Rams to try to make a push to save their season. Going to 1-5, as we mentioned with other teams, is really bad. 1-4 is bad. 1-5 is almost spectacularly bad. They played the Steelers last week and just couldn't stop turning the ball over. That being the Raiders. So I don't know. I think I'll take the chance here. I'll take Vegas. I'll take Vegas to some. I mean, Devontae Adams. He's gone. I was like, he hadn't been playing anyway. So
yeah,
I'll take Vegas here. I have very little conviction on this, except that the Rams are just beat up. If Cooper Kupp plays, I'll feel a little weaker about this one. But
sure,
we don't know. I just think he's an older player, and it could take him a while. So. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so again, with all the conviction of a fly, that's well picked. Then for another real humdinger, we've got the Panthers going to the Washington Commanders here. This would be shameful if somehow the Commanders lost this one. Andy Dalton has played fairly well, kind of doing his best Joe Flacco impression, but it has also steadily declined. The first week he came out really shooting, and that's great. But then, he's just slowed down every week just a little bit more. And I don't know what to expect from him week to week anymore. He's starting to get a little turnover happy. Um, I can't even think of a reason to really go into this game more. Washington lost their last game, but to a team that'll probably be in the AFC Championship, and I don't think there's any shame in that. They lost by one touchdown, so I'll take Washington here to win and feel quite good about themselves. And yeah, all will be right in their world. So, what about you?
No, very similar to your thoughts on this. I think that they have, for Carolina to have a game, they need Hubbard to continue to show up. They need Andy Dalton to just play better, smarter. Uh, stop giving the ball over and all that. It's easier said than done, but yeah, for them to have any chance, they would definitely need those two things. Washington really did play a good game against Baltimore, and it would have almost been it would have been pretty incredible for them to beat Baltimore, I think, with Jaden. And I mean that with all respect to Jaden. I think he's playing phenomenal. He's easily, in my opinion, the best of that class. And I don't even think it's close. And he's played really well. And I always am curious with young quarterbacks how they're going to take a tough, close loss. Are they going to carry that into their next game or not? I think he's shown so far a lot of maturity. I don't expect that. So I agree with you. I think Washington's going to come in and win the game. I'd like to see Washington be more committed to the running game and that running game not be named Jaden. Like get some of the pressure, take some of the pressure off that young kid and keep him from getting injured. That's what I'd like to see, but I expect Washington will win that game handily. Another intriguing game is the San Francisco Kansas City game. Kansas City had obviously a great start. They had a good win their last game. I think that they're in an interesting position coming into this. I don't think Rice is back. I think they're wide receiver light right now. So I think with Hollywood Brown out and him, Travis still doesn't seem like himself. And so I think that they're a little bit understaffed in a lot of ways on offense. With that, they always play a good, clean game. Always is a strong word, but pretty much always play a strong, clean game. San Francisco is coming off that good win against Seattle. I thought they played a really good game. Brock looked very much in control. I think they've found a way, pretty remarkably in a lot of ways, to weather the storm of having one of the top three running backs out for the entire season so far. And I expect that will carry on through this next game. They ran like crazy in the last game. I kind of expect them to do the same a little bit during this upcoming game. With that being said, I will take San Francisco to win this one. You going San Francisco, or you going for the Kansas City to beat the rival?
So here I'm torn, right, because of that. So I'm very sick of Taylor Swift, but at the same time, I don't like the Niners much. So, if the Cardinals wanted any chance at relevance in our division, which still seems like a long shot regardless of this game, then the more that they struggle and the Seahawks struggle and so on, the better. But um, they have, it's easy to look at the Niners Chiefs and it's like, oh, the Chiefs always beat them, and it's like, yeah, that's true, but the Niners have played them pretty well for like 3 quarters every single time. It's just that one quarter they can never seem to sneak away with, and the Chiefs are not. Excuse me. The Chiefs are a great defensive team, and they're pretty good at running the ball when they've got a decent running back healthy, which they've struggled with. But now Kareem Hunt seems to be back, and we'll see if he can maintain what he's doing. But Mahomes has not been impressive. There are probably 10 or 15 quarterbacks in the NFL who are playing as well or better than he is this year, statistically speaking. I mean, 6 touchdowns and 6 turnovers, I believe, through 5 games. It's that's Patrick Mahomes we're talking about. I mean, like, it's wild. Wild to think that Daniel Jones has better stats than Patrick Mahomes this year. But that's what it is. So it's hard to tell exactly what's going on there, but it is not hard to tell what's going on with their defense. Their defense is killer. I think I'll actually stick with you here and take San Francisco for the upset. It's about time the Chiefs dropped one. And I'll take this to be the week that they do it. It's a really good opponent. They have, the Chiefs have been playing with fire all year long. I'll take them to lose this game. I don't think they'll be losing it 33-5 or anything, some weird score like that, but like just to lose this one. So I'll take San Fran here, and we'll see. But yeah, we get one of the more interesting games Sunday night. At least I find it interesting. It doesn't seem like it on paper because it's Jets Steelers, but the addition of Devontae Adams has the potential to help unlock the Jets' offense, which hasn't been atrocious, but it has not been good enough. Now, the big question that a lot of Jets fans ask is when they signed him was like, oh, good, can he block? And no, of course, he really can't in the context that they're asking. He cannot block T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt has got to be licking his chops right now. It's like, I got a 40-year-old quarterback who can't, he can't move anymore and has a bad offensive line. Okay, Merry Christmas to me, right? So that could be just the very predictable way this one goes. It could be, if he lines up like a 4-sack day, then that's one thing. But I think the hope with Devontae Adams is no, he can't block T.J. Watt, but he can get open faster. If he and Garrett Wilson. Yeah, Wilson. There's a Garrett Williams out there as well, and I keep getting him mixed up with the Cardinals. If Garrett Wilson can both go, one guy's going deep and the other guy's in the mid route most of the time, so he's got the early pass possibility on each down, and you're not just like giving him these long developing plays all the time. Then that could really help. Timing plays with him should work fairly well, fairly quickly because of their history together, and not just history together, but history doing that particular thing quite well together. So I'm optimistic that the Jets could improve here. It's all going to come down to can that O-line protect Aaron Rodgers? I think the Jets defense is solid enough to stop what the Steelers are doing, or at least slow it down, keep it tame. There have been rumors that Russell Wilson might play this week. We'll see. It's a weird reward for Justin Fields to go 4-2 and then get benched, but we'll see. This is actually one of the harder ones to pick. I'll take the Jets here. I think they're going to be desperate. They were right there with the Bills, and I think the Bills are an incredible team, so I'll take the Jets here. But I will not be surprised at all if the Jets season skids to a halt basically because of the Steelers. So what do you see here?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to me because it's a 4-2 team and a 2-4 team. I actually think they're very close. And they were very close, I think, last week. I look at who have they played, who have they beat. The Jets lost that convincing loss to the 49ers to start the season. They beat some not good teams. And then they lost that horrible game to the Broncos, which was embarrassing. But then they lost a close one to the Vikings, which I believe is the best team in the NFL right now. And then a close game to the Bills. And I think that they're better than they have looked. And I still think that there are some things there that obviously have not been firing on all cylinders. Man, some of the things that happened in the last game, I think really showed why Aaron Rodgers is so frustrated. Some of his wide receivers did not seem like they were putting in tons of effort. And to bring in a guy like Devontae Adams to any team would be a real thing. But to bring him to a guy who already knows him and knows how to utilize him, and really he's going right back into an offense he already knows. Like I even if he wasn't, I think he would play an impact in this game. Similarly, I think that Pittsburgh has had some impressive wins, right? They beat the Falcons in week 1. They beat the Broncos, which is interesting. The Chargers, who are not great. They beat the Raiders. And it's like, okay, how do I think that they can beat the Jets going into this? I don't trust Fields in particular to have to come and play well. I think this is a completely defensive effort on their part right now. If Russ plays instead, I'll probably trust them a little less. Not because I think he's a worse quarterback per se, but because I think that he's been out for a while, and I don't trust that at all. Um, so yeah, I'll take the Jets to win this one. I wouldn't put it all on Devontae Adams as a part of it. I probably would have picked them regardless. But yeah, I expect them to come in and play a good game, get the win here, and kind of break this cycle of close games that they're on the wrong side of. Kind of move towards uh, their run at that division, I guess. All right, so that brings us down to one of the Monday night games, which is Baltimore and Tampa Bay. I think this is kind of a fun game, or could be. Tampa Bay was such an odd game this week, where I think in the first half we kind of saw bad Baker show up and throw some interceptions, and then saw good Baker go to like an extreme and just kind of light things up for 50 points. It was a very bizarre experience for the Baker Mayfield band. With all that being said, Baltimore to me is a good team, but they have Derrick Henry. And right now, I think Derrick Henry is a sledgehammer to the entire league. He is anti everything I think that they want the league to be and to do. And he works whether they want him to or not. And there's really no real good way to stop him. By the second half, just no one on the defense wants to see him anymore. He just seems strong. He seems healthy. Everyone knows he's coming, and it just doesn't matter. So I'm going to take Baltimore to win this one, but I still think this could be a really fun game. Tampa Bay will really need to play a very balanced game for that to work out. And you cannot have bad Baker show up even for a quarter in that game. It's got to be good Baker the whole time. What do you think? What are you going to take on that one?
I agree with you that this is going to be one of the best games of the week. One team's really going to separate themselves here in their division. The AFC North will be Baltimore's. If they win this one, it'll just be theirs. Especially if Pittsburgh goes on to lose. But even if they were both 5-2, Ravens and the Steelers, I'd take Baltimore every time. And then the Bucks would be a commanding, fairly commanding.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to finish that sentence. That would be very strong lead for them. Atlanta will be nipping at their heels, especially the way I see it, and that would be a 2-horse race. But obviously, the Saints seem to have dropped out of all relevance. The Derek Carr injury is not helping them, and the Panthers are the Panthers. So, as I'm looking at this one, the Buccaneers are not good at running the football. The Ravens are the best run defense in the NFL. They've allowed 57 yards per game. So that doesn't look to get any real change. However, the Ravens are the second most passing yards allowed this season against a team with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. And Baker's playing well behind that O-line, and he is certainly willing to throw the ball. On the other side of it, obviously, yes, Derrick Henry. And that's going to be the big question. Todd Bowles, going back to when he was the DC under Bruce Arians, both in Tampa and back in Arizona, like their one pride thing is like, hey, don't let their run game beat us. Like that's like their one thing on defense. It's kind of, how do people talk about playing against like Jordan? I was like, you're not going to stop Jordan. You're not going to stop Kobe. You just need to slow him down a little bit. Like Derek's going to get his with that team, with that O-line, with what they've got going on there. He's going to eat. But you can't give up 160, 180 yards to him in 2 touchdowns. You just can't let him have an MVP day on you. If he gets 100 yards and 1 touchdown, I think that Tampa's defense will have actually performed quite admirably. Obviously you can't have Lamar having another 100 and a touchdown on top of that, but I think I'll actually take Tampa here.
Sweet.
I don't know their news well enough to know, like, are they missing a whole bunch of people or something? I certainly like what Baltimore is doing, but I think Tampa and Baker is this could be like a fourth quarter comeback where he just goes off in the fourth and wins it on a last second drive kind of thing. So that's the way I'll go with this one, but it'll be a really good game, which I won't see any of because I'll be watching the other game, which is the torture of the week for Arizona fans. The Chargers going to Arizona and playing against the Cardinals. Uh, I wish I could talk myself into picking the Cardinals here again, kind of like last week, right? I wished I could pick them against Green Bay, though it worked out not picking them in the pick 'em league. Um, and this is certainly not an unwinnable game. The Chargers have done certain things quite well, but they are not a juggernaut. Our O line needs to protect Kyler if we want a chance to win this game, and then our offense has to get. We have to go back to the offense being kind of in sync here and there. We cannot be the Backstreet Boys. No, we have to go back to being well tuned and on time. We cannot just every week there's Kyler doing this. You know, when something goes left and he was supposed to go right, and it's just like I'm starting to think you don't know how to communicate, but you're just calling the play. The other guy should know what the play is and where he's supposed to be. So maybe Kyler doesn't know where he's supposed to be, which goes back to the whole does he study film and all that noise. And I just we don't need to rehash that, but there are some confusing things that either need some explaining or some fixing, or let's just come on now, what are we doing? So maybe all that happens. And maybe this is the week where things kind of come together, at least enough to beat the Chargers. That is certainly not outside the realm of possibility. But the Chargers are looking to be very consistent. They're running the ball pretty well. They didn't run it great against Denver, but Denver has a top 10 defense in the NFL.
Yes.
We do not. We're missing almost our entire starting defensive line and some of our backups as well. So that's not great. We could get our rookie this week, Darius Robinson, and that would help some. But not holding my breath. I mean, we could sign Hassan Reddick between now and then, but I'm not holding my breath for that either. So I'm going to stick with the thing that causes me slightly less pain, and I'm going to pick the Chargers here. I hope that I am wrong, but yeah. What do you got on this?
I think your logic here makes a lot of sense. I think the Chargers, as you said, they're not a great team, but they're certainly not a bad team. And they're a team that I harp on it for every team. It's like, where's your commitment to some balance? If you're not balanced, how are you going to win? And they do that pretty well. Dobbins has looked pretty good, I think, throughout the season, and they get it done. I think Herbert's pretty good at that. Like, just hey, let me get it done. I'm not going to blow you away, but and I respect that. I think that their defense looked pretty good at times. With that being said, I'll be interested to see on the Arizona side the official word on Marvin Harrison Jr. and where he is, if he's going to play or not. You were talking about how they don't always seem like they're on the same page. I think that's such an odd disadvantage to having two guys come out of the draft and immediately be productive in Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson. I just think that there's a lot of learning curve there. And I wonder to me, as a kind of backseat Cardinals fan, that gives me encouragement because I think they're going to keep getting better week to week to week to week. If they're healthy, which I think is going to be a real question going into this game. Because you can't just ride Trey McBride; he will eventually get hurt or whatever. So I think if Arizona's going to get back to their game plan of we're going to run the ball and then we're going to pick you apart second, I would like to see that. If we don't see Marvin Harrison Jr. back, I think that means Greg Dortch will probably be kind of facilitating that role, which to me means it's time to take some long shots and try to hit a couple home runs in between. But I think that they can pull it apart. I'm also expecting y'all to trade out for Hassan Reddick and go ahead and pick him up somehow. And I'm also expecting y'all to trade a draft pick for Myles Garrett and solve the entire defensive problem. Like, y'all be set. Yeah. So I'm kind of expecting the Cardinals, though, to make a move of some form here. Maybe that's just me being very hopeful. But I think that would be fun. I'm going to pick Arizona to pull this off. I'm the eternal optimist. So I will pick Arizona in this game. I do expect no matter what for Kyler. And I meant to say this earlier. I was very impressed with his post-game interview. I felt like he handled that really well after what was a very difficult loss. And he talked a lot about we need to be better prepared, and the problems that we had during this game are fixable. We just need to actually go do that. Whenever they asked him about a specific player or problem, he took ownership of it. I expect him to come into this next game fired up and prepared, ready to go. So yeah, I will take Arizona, and we'll see if we can make it a happy Monday night.
Yeah. I appreciate you taking them because it'll keep me more in the pick'em league. I appreciate that. I don't want to
Exactly.
run away with it too much. And if I lose
Yep.
because you picked this one right, then I win. So,
Fair enough.
Yeah, it'll be a fun week for most fans, and then for Cardinals fans, it'll just be a week. But it'll be fun for a lot of good games. Excited to see further development of teams and all that. So we will see anyone and everyone.